Hi guys, it's been a long since I last shared the bike trials training related video on this channel, but if you already followed me on social media, you may have seen me riding a lot since I last posted a relevant video here. So I was training the other day on this great natural spot, and actually this is a new spot for me, as it's not been long since we first rode here with the Athos Trials team. This whole area has some great features to ride, and every time I train here, I discover more and more rideable lines. One of the first times I rode here, I found this quite large rock and I wanted to double hook on this one, as it's a move I don't train often enough and it sure was a new one for me to train hooks on a natural spot. So I gave it a lot of tries and after a while I managed to get it without any dubs. I was so excited for getting this one. The next time I trained here I found this cool spot where I could learn to pedal up to back on this rocky terrain. And actually, pedaling everywhere is a skill that I need to develop in the future, and I'm trying a bit hard for that. So next to the rock I was trying to pedal up, I saw this rock that is perfect to train double hooks for my level of riding, and so I decided to give it a try. After a while I got it, and I was quite happy for that. Also, watching back my training videos, I noticed that the rock I was hooking on was rocking back and forth, but believe me that it was not something noticeable while riding. Anyways, the other day I decided to visit the same area again and I started from this very spot to try some more lines I had in my mind. So, after warming up by getting the same line I got last time, I started to experiment with some more obstacles to make it more interesting. Whenever I was pausing during the move and losing momentum, I was trying to keep it so as to learn how to hang from my front wheel and hook up to tricky spots. This is a move that is regularly done by many trial riders and so I would like to get it in the future. I think that this rock is a quite good place to train static double hooks as it has a bit of positive angle that helps a lot to pull the bike upwards for the second part of the move. Generally, the more vertical the obstacle is, the more difficult the hooks are getting. However, as you can see, all this time I train this move, I do the second part of the move by repositioning the bike on the rock, and it may be correct considering the line I had in my mind, but I thought that it would be good to try to go straight to my back wheel for this part of the movement. This is something I've done before when I was training hooks on street obstacles, but this was different. Rocks are pretty tricky and riding there can turn into a dangerous situation quite fast. So I was quite scared to try it, and this means that I have to work around the move in order to feel more safe and finally get it. So the first thing I usually do in such cases is to check out the possible fail scenarios and figure out how I could potentially handle any unfortunate situations. However, I do know that there are factors that cannot be predicted, and thus I always have in my mind that I should be ready to bail as safely as possible. As you can see, my major concern with this one was to avoid falling forwards, as it could be quite dangerous and difficult to bail out from such a fall. So I made sure that the distance between the two rocks is enough to land my front wheel on until I get how to hook up on my back wheel, and this was how I actually started to get a bit less scared to try this one. Then I started attempting the line I had in my mind, and in the beginning I broke down the line into two parts. The first one was the double hook and the second one was part of a line I had already done, and so it would be easier to get once I have managed to complete the first part. After a lot of tries I started to get less and less scared for this one, and finally I started getting the double hook a bit more consistently, and so I was ready to start trying the full line. After a while I got it as I wanted, and I was so happy that I managed to get it and started unlocking double hooks on natural terrains. Be sure that this is a move that I'm going to try more in the future on such natural terrains, and I hope that I'll start getting more consistent the more I train double hooks on the rocks. That's it for today guys, I hope you enjoyed this one, and be sure that in the future I'm going to try to adapt more moves I do on street obstacles to the rocky terrains that I love so much to ride on. But I'm quite curious, what's your approach when you try a new line? How do you manage your fear of trying something new? And what do you do to make sure that you're riding as safely as possible? Please let me know in the comment section below. Thanks so much for subscribing and watching, and until next time, have fun riding your bikes. Bye!